Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. We kick off today with the return of a feature which, on the one hand, was very controversial upon its announcement, but on the other hand, feels absolutely inevitable in the future that we are heading into. That is Microsoft's recall feature. Basically, the idea of recall and the tools like it is that by watching what a user is doing and feeding that information into AI, a computing experience can be much more responsive to a user's actual needs. Now, Microsoft is, of course, not the first company who's trying something like this. Limitless has been working on this, for example, for quite some time now. First as a desktop and web app, and more recently coming to a wearable format as well. The way that they frame it is going beyond your mind's limitations. This is effectively the pensieve from Harry Potter, which allows you to externalize all of these memories so that you can go back in and recall them with the help of AI whenever you need. Well, Microsoft announced earlier this year that it was bringing that type of experience to their Copilot Plus computers, but after an uproar from privacy advocates, they paused the rollout for a little while. Microsoft now says that it has, quote, listened to feedback and has made some updates, for example, making the service opt-in, whereas previously in these computers it had been turned on by default. In the wake of the announcement, it wasn't just online advocates who were concerned. There were government bodies as well, such as the Information Commissioner's Office in the UK, who looked into the system and were influential in some of these new updates. For my part, I completely understand why this is controversial. I have a base level nervousness and skepticism when it comes to anything with this level of surveillance. And yet, at the same time, I'm fairly sure that this is going to be totally de rigueur within the next, I don't know if it's 5 or 10 years, but at some point, this will just be completely normalized. I think the value propositions will be there, particularly from a business standpoint, and as is always the case, people will just get used to something that a previous generation never would have countenanced. I could, of course, be wrong, and I think this is a good one to keep an eye on for what sort of norms we want as it relates to this in society, but my guess is you're going to see more, not less of this in the years to come. Moving on, a follow-up from our story last week about OpenAI's big investment round. Apple apparently is not going to be joining that round. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, this $6.5 billion mega round could close as early as this week. It's not clear why Apple dropped out. It could be the ballooning valuation, which seems like it might get all the way up to $150 billion. It could be concerns around antitrust. But these are all speculations, as neither OpenAI nor Apple have commented on it. One company that does appear to be set to make an investment is SoftBank. The information reports that they have agreed to invest $500 million as part of the new round. The current crop of potential investors, according to the information, include Thrive Capital in the lead, then Tiger Global Management, Coatue Management, Microsoft, MGX from the United Arab Emirates, Dragoneer Investment Group, and NVIDIA. The information points out that although SoftBank has been a prolific investor in the past, they've been a little bit more circumspect when it comes to the most recent wave of generative AI. The investment in OpenAI would be the largest bet SoftBank has made in startups working on generative AI. Earlier this year, Masayoshi Son vetoed a potential investment in competitor Mistral. SoftBank is also invested in Perplexity. Now, another one of SoftBank's investments is ByteDance, who are, of course, the owners of TikTok. ByteDance were themselves in the news around AI, planning a new model trained not on NVIDIA chips, but on chips from Huawei. Basically, this is a story around the end results of increasing pressure from the US government to make it harder for Chinese companies to access American chip technology. Writes Reuters, ByteDance has diversified to domestic suppliers of chips used in AI and accelerated development of its own since the US in 2022 started restricting exports of advanced AI chips such as from market leader NVIDIA. Basically, it sounds like ByteDance will be taking the Ascend 910B chip that they already use for things like inference tasks and trying to make them work for training a new model as well. Yet, even without the restrictions on American chip technology, there are still challenges in meeting the demand. Again, according to Reuters, ByteDance has ordered more than 100,000 of these chips, but has so far received fewer than 30,000. On the same topic of Chinese chips, Chinese chipmaker Cambricon Technologies was up 20% in trading after Bloomberg reported that the government in Beijing was stepping up pressure on domestic companies to ditch companies like NVIDIA and use local alternatives. Basically, now it appears that pressure is coming from both sides, with the US government making it harder to get access to American chips, and the Chinese government pressuring companies to use local alternatives, with the result being that the companies who are in a position to deliver against those shifts are being rewarded in the market. And with that, we will close out today's AI Daily Brief Headlines edition. Next up, the main episode.